Welcome to West Country Wanderings and a big welcome to the Severn Way Part 4. Today we're going to make our way from here in the town of Caersws to Newtown. Now I've just come off the train from Caersws, well from Birmingham and New Street. The train continues on its journey to Aberystwyth. This is the Cambrian line here. So I've made my way up from Gloucestershire, changing at Birmingham New Street. Today we're going to do a shorter walk. I think it's something like 13 kilometres, so a bit under 8.5 miles, but it is quite steep. So we've got to climb up about 1,100 metres during the course of the route. Now, like the other routes that we've done on the Severn Way, it doesn't follow the River Severn for a lot of the route, although we will see it when we leave here at Caersws shortly. And we'll see it again when, of course, we enter Newtown. But we should get glimpses of it when we've climbed up high to look at the view back down into the river valley of the River Severn. Now, just one other thing to tell you before I make my way and make my start is that the former station master here, one John Hughes, was also a very famous poet. I'll include a shot of the station because I wasn't aware of that when I included it last time. Very famous, and I'll put in the dates that he was station master here, the dates he alive, and a couple of his famous poems as well. So why not join me here on another tour along the Severn Way. So I'm here in the heart of the town after coming out from the railway station. That's only 2 or 3 minutes walk. There's a couple of shops here so you can get the supplies when you're doing the walk. The Severn Way continues down this road. The road's going to bear, I think it goes round to the left and then we'll keep along a straight track. Just enjoyed seeing those steam cars here. I don't know what that's all about. If you're all well today, join me on this walk here in central Wales. So until I started the Severn Way, I wasn't actually familiar with this part of Wales at all. I was just finding it an absolute delight. You have these nice quiet towns, and also you've got good bus services like we had on the last one. There's just another train going through. I think that will be heading back to Birmingham, just heard that. And good rail service as well. So I think it's quite fairly frequent service, about every hour and a half from Birmingham, also on down to Aberystwyth. A very, very pleasant journey here today from Birmingham New Street, courtesy of Transport for Wales trains. Just currently walking past Hafren Terrace, because Hafren is the Welsh for the River Severn, and hopefully to get a shot of the River Severn before they leave the town, and then hoping to get some more views of it when we gain that altitude, that 1,100 metres gain in height here today. So that's our first sighting of the River Severn today. Lovely bend in the river there. We have the sheep on the left and the cattle on the right. I'm not quite sure if that's by accident or design, but we're now leaving the town, the Roman town of Caersws, and as we leave the town shortly we should be able to make out the site of the first of the 2 Roman forts. In the last video, part 3, I told you about Roman fort number 2, but there was a more temporary first fort here by the banks of the River Severn, and obviously the Romans thought this town here in mid Wales, in Powys, was a very strategic position indeed. Now this building here was a former Victorian workhouse designed by one Thomas Penson, constructed between 1837 and 1840. It later became an important hospital for this part of rural mid Wales, and as you can see now it's been converted into apartments. Some more views of the Severn before we are on the edge of the town of Caersws. Some interesting geographical features here. So we have an island there, and that could form an oxbow lake. And you can see it's meandering around here, and it's actually quite difficult to work out which way it's actually flowing at this point. And the River Severn is making its long way along there to the town of Newtown, and that is of course where our journey will be heading towards today too. So in the hedge here, where we're turning off the main road, the Severn Way continues just read that through because it's quite difficult to read, to make out. East Maldwyn, the fort that left barely a trace, under the fields, beyond the allotments and former sewage works, skirted by the route of the Severn Way, lie the remains of Caersws I, the earlier of the two Roman forts of Caersws, which was constructed and occupied around AD 70. This short-lived fort has left only very slight earthworks, but recent geophysical investigation by the Clwyd Paris Archaeological Trust has revealed the position of bread ovens built close to the defensive ramparts and the faint outlines of buildings that once stood within its defences. Now, like a lot of the way, you can't think that you're suddenly going to continue heading along the track, because shortly after you've left the road, there's a kissing gate. Yeah, and it's also buried under grass as well, and that is the Severn Way. As I say, the condition of the Severn Way is nowhere near as good as the Cotswold Way, or indeed the other Cotswold walks I've gone on, and a lot of the gates and things and the signs are often overgrown. So when you are doing the Severn Way, if you want to do it yourself, please have your wits about you. One eye on the ground at all times, and the other on your map, compass or OS map app. But what the way doesn't have in terms of good signage and clearly defined paths, it more than makes up well for with beautiful scenery, including this ridge of hills just the other side here of the River Severn. I'm not sure what that farm is for there, whether it's for pigs or for chickens. I think probably because it's mid-Wales and all the problems that the River Severn's sister river, the River Wye, has with pollution. It probably is chickens. Less said about that, the better. But yeah, but still beautiful views here in the county of Paris. Yes, so it's around this site that Roman Fort Part 1, or number 1, so between that tree and that hedge there and the hills and dropping down towards the River Severn, that would have been it. But I can't go over there because we'll be committing an act of trespass. Our route heads through here, through this very thick, long grass. So we do get a glimpse of the River Severn from this spot. That's the main A470, hugging the valley floor there, formed by the River Severn, the Ice Age, and that's the line of the hills back there. But where our journey continues on, we're heading, well, I'm not sure actually whether we're heading through that gatepost there or that one there. In typical Severn Way fashion, neither of them are marked, so I need to check my map. So yes, we're just checked the OS map, and it's the lower one of the two gates. We're heading towards a farmhouse and a cottage called Llwyn y Brain, and we'll then obviously be, well, not obviously, but we'll be gaining height once we leave that point. So we're just above the River Severn here, but literally probably only 50-75 metres, but as I say, we're going to gain over 1,000 metres in height before we meet the town of Newtown. Yes, you definitely get a sense of cattle apartheid. I've got sheep to my left, your right, cattle to my right, your left. But yeah, there's two barbed wire fences that runs in between these two groups of cattle, or the sheep and the cattle. Never the twain shall meet. So we're still quite close to the River Severn at this point. It's just over that hedge there. You can see a red, part of a red truck or implement for farming machinery, and some trees beyond that, and that line of the trees there denotes the River Severn, but you can just make out its embankment, not the actual water in it. At the moment, our route through this very long grass, as you can see, hasn't been cut yet. We're heading over there, so the Kissing Gate is now in the middle of the picture, and that's my destination for the moment. Quite an audience with me, so I'm not walking alone. We have quite a few cows here. They've just moved out of the way. Our track heads over this way. So after crossing over that road, we rejoined Severn Way on the other side, so we didn't actually have to walk across the road. Excuse the tractor noise. They're cutting the grass in that field over there. To my right, your left, I have this delightful field here, which is full of oak trees, which is quite unusual these days because of monocultural intensive farming that you see more around Gloucestershire, Worcestershire and Herefordshire. These in the past have been cut down, but thankfully here in Powys they've been left well alone, which is good. And the cattle, the cows, in fact I had to walk through a load of cows. Thankfully there weren't any young cows there, no calves, so I felt okay about that. If there's been calves around I would have been a bit more concerned, but they were quite disinterested in me making tracks across the field. We are climbing now. I think I've already climbed up about 300 metres, so about another 800 to go to reach our summit for the day, and then we'll cross the escarpment, or the edge of the Severn Valley, and then we'll begin our descent down towards Newtown. I'm actually looking for somewhere to stop for lunch. It's now about 1:30. It's about an hour and a quarter since I came off the train from Birmingham New Street. Been drinking water along the way, had a snack bar to keep me going, but I would like to have a proper stop somewhere appropriate. See if I can find that shortly. So I think I've found a nice spot here. Beautiful line of trees going up the field here as we climb our height away from the Severn Vale, obviously to rejoin it again. I want to descend back into Newtown, or back down to Newtown. So I'm going to stop here for a little bit, have something to drink, something to eat, just chill out a bit. I'm a bit warm from that climb, but we've got a lot more climbing to do yet, and I'll see you back on the vlog in a bit. So we're 200 metres high. We follow this route, this track for a bit. I think it becomes an unmetalled road. It's a metalled road at the moment. It becomes an unmetalled road. That there belongs to Severn water. So it's like a treatment plant. I actually thought it was all Welsh water, but it's not. Although the logo looks like it's Severn Trent. So does anybody know about that? It's rather strange. The Dee is actually a river in North Wales, kind of flows through the city of Chester in England. Where's way across? I think we're a long way from the Dee. Well, we're definitely a long way from the Dee here. Our track continues ahead. So we have a very pleasant section of walking now. This is a lot better than all that very long, tough grass. You end up either tripping yourself up or getting caught in some very long thistles and nettles, which, no kidding, are way above waist height in places. But this, we have short grass here. It's not windy at all, it's sheltered from the trees. And this is very beautiful either side, although it's difficult to show you. I can do that side. Got some sheep. Probably look a bit washed out because of the lighting underneath the trees. Quite a bit of contrast ratio difference between the two light levels. But yeah, here is it's lovely. I'm really enjoying this section. This is the best section so far on today's walk for me. I'm not going to grade each section, but this has got to be up there. Now this would be a tributary of the River Severn, but sad to report it is dry this time of year. Not sure when last water would have chucked itself down the hillside here, but again another extended section with trees both sides. We will come out onto a minor road shortly. I believe we head left, and this is very nice indeed. Crikey, lots of flies here, but that gives us a handle on the mileage. Caersws 3 miles and Newtown 5 1/4 to go, and we continue down in this delightful direction. Now the town we're going to, Newtown, has obviously benefited from the River Severn. Over several millennia there was an original settlement there, and that later extended when the River Severn became navigable to the lower stretches. Obviously from Newtown up to this stretch, of course, the river isn't navigable at all, as you would have seen from the shots of the River Severn earlier in today's video. The Welsh name for Newtown is Strenuous, and it has actually become a new town once when it was named Newtown because of the industry that grew up there. And it became a new town again in the sense of places like Basildon, Royal Tunbridge Wells, places like that, real new towns, Redditch in Worcestershire, fairly close to me. So it became a new town again in 1967, and obviously under the Welsh government they used it as a development area, and so it has grown up, although the development is still confined within the valley of the River Severn. Field I'm walking across at the moment, grass has been cut, which is a real pleasure. This is the first field I've walked across today with cut grass rather than grass up around my waist. But we've got beautiful views straight and right across there. I've just come from those line of trees and walked along the road. The road's there just on the hedge. And as I say, we're heading down, so we're actually descending now, although I do think there is some more climbing to do. So we're now just under the 5 mile point at this hitless location here, so I think we've about 3 3/4 miles done, just under 5 miles to go. Now, though it says Newtown right, Strenuous 4 miles. At this point, very tempting to just go right, but that's not the way that the Severn Way goes. It actually continues up here in the direction of Bettis, Sidwain and Tregennion. Now we stay on this road for about half a mile till we come to a farmhouse called Garrick Llywyd, and then we'll make our way onto a track, turning right, then kind of heading down in the general direction of Newtown. Well, that's kind of the plan anyway. Classic example of bad signage along this route. The only sign you can see as you're walking along the road is a footpath off to the left. But we need a turning to the right. There's a driveway here. It's not marked, but this is indeed the Severn Way. And it's not until you kind of scrabble through the hedgerow to see, hidden away here, there is Severn Way fence post. We started off around about 30 metres. We climbed to about 100, and then we got up to 200. We fell back to about 100 again. Now we've climbed up to about 220 metres high. And the figure I gave you, I was getting confused with the feet, that 1,100 is the total amount that you need to climb walking. That is in metres, but it's the total amount because of course the route goes up and down, so that you've climbed, you fall back again, then you need to climb some more. So it is indeed to go up 1,100 metres for the length of this route. So it is quite a strenuous walk today. Anyway, we're going to continue our walk today, climbing over this stile, which looks new, which is a rarity for the Severn Way. So I think this is going to be our most strenuous part of today's walking. We're just over halfway in terms of the miles, kilometres. According to my app, we've just got about 6.8 kilometres to go to get to Newtown. But our walk now continues up here, and there's a Severn Way post. Wish me luck. The benefit of climbing, of course, is then you're rewarded with Great views, as you can see here. So we're now climbing to the highest point on today's walk, which I believe is 278 metres. I will check that when I do the editing. And just to note, like all the other parts of the way, apart from the section through Hafren Forest for Rhydia Benwich, shall I say, car park, bit around there, I haven't seen another soul since I left the town of Caersws some 3 hours ago now. Not one person, apart from one farmer in the field, seen to his sheep off in the distance. So we're now at the highest point today. I think our route climbs up there, skipping the height at the moment, and then we should be dropping down into Welshpool. I think we're about 5.8 kilometres off of the town, so well over halfway now. I've got a little surprise for you coming up, because that's where I'm going to have my second break of the walk, I think, because it should be, according to the guidebooks, quite a delightful spot. So I'll see you there in a bit. Yeah, apologies for the flies in front of the camera lens. There are clouds and clouds of flies around here at the moment. Yeah, so that's our destination down there. We're going to take my break. That's Fachwen, F-A-C-H-W-E-N, pool. You have fishing there as well, but according to the guidebooks, it's a delightful spot. So we'll continue heading down there towards Newtown. Sorry, I may have said Welshpool earlier. I'm not going to make Welshpool today. That'll be another couple of videos away before we head back there, which is where I stayed my first couple of trips on the Severn Way. That's where my accommodation was, and that's where we'll be again. Probably won't be next time. I'll probably have to have a break between Newtown and Welshpool, because it's about 23 kilometres, so I think it's a bit much for me with filming, trying to do that distance in one day, particularly because I can't start early either. I have to start around about midday-ish because of the journey time to get here from Gloucestershire. But that'll be coming up, so if this is your sort of thing, then please consider a subscribe, and if you hit subscribe and then hit the bell, then YouTube will tell you when the next one in the Severn Way series uploads on my channel, West Country Wanderings. Red kite hovering over there in the trees there, it's just gone above the tree line, so I'll pick up on the screen or not. Beautiful sight here, and the sheep, and the pool is just behind the trees to my left. Your right, and he's wheeling back round again. He's just above that quarry at the moment. Wonderful. So now we've arrived at this beautiful lake, complete with landing stages here, fully equipped for the fishermen. Just heard some plops and noises in the water as some fish have jumped up, capturing the many flies that are on the surface of the water here. Absolutely stunning. There are also some water lilies out in flower just a bit further around there. I'll see if I can try and capture that in a bit. Just chilling out here, taking some water on board, having something to eat before I complete the 4.5 kilometre walk along the Severn Way into the town of Newtown. So we're now about 2 kilometres from the lake where I last saw you. We've just arrived at Rhydyfelin Baptist Church, which has been here since 1791. Wonderful Baptist church at this site. I don't think it's open, but there is a large overgrown churchyard next to it, just up here. And all of the gravestones seem to be grouped together there, not quite sure why that is. But our Severn Way, actually I was wondering where it was. We've got a bit of a car park here with lights for the services for the church. But the Severn Way actually continues down this little gunnel here. It's quite dark, so I'll speak to you in a bit. Now, after having that slope down towards the pool there, the lake where the fishermen were, had this horrendous climbing, and I thought I was done with climbing before we got to Newtown, so excuse me, I'm about out of breath. It's been quite a climb up there. I'm hoping shortly we'll reach the summit again for our final centre in Newtown, because I don't have a lot of time left. My train is at, I think it's 25 to 7, which takes me back to Birmingham New Street. And I was hoping to do a little bit of filming in Newtown. I certainly need to catch up with some supplies and some water and some replenishment as well before my journey back to Gloucestershire. But yeah, so I'm a little bit tight for time, so I probably won't be able to film much on this section. I want to get to Newtown and then show you the bits of the River Severn that we can see from there before closing today's video. Hope you'll be enjoying the journey so far, so I'll see you on the approach to Newtown. All the sheep are having a stampede, I'm not quite sure why. Beautiful views here. We can just make out the River Severn there down in the bottom of the valley. And Newtown lies over here, but you can't actually see the town at the moment. But it will be revealed shortly. So that down there is our first glimpse of Newtown. So just all we've got to do now is make the descent. And hopefully I'll see you soon by the banks of the River Severn. So we're now just entering the park proper. It's gone really dark, some heavy pine trees here. Sorry if it's gone a bit blocky. The sensors got run out right up on the ISO to compensate for the lack of light at this section. But we should be moored with the park, and on the other side of the park should be our good friend Sabrina, who we haven't really seen closer up to since we left Caersws. Now the stone circle you see there was actually placed here in Newtown to mark the National Eisteddfod. I think it was 1964, 1967. I was reading the guidebook last night, but I can't remember. I'll drop the exact date in below. But that was placed here for the first Eisteddfod here in Newtown. And here we have a lovely community orchard, which was, according to that plaque, planted here March 2019. Just a couple of years ago now. So quite an extensive park here, as you can see, very large. But there is a footpath down here which runs alongside the River Severn. Now this here is really quite delightful. I've cooled down and calmed down because I was panicking about doing the filming and getting something to drink before my train, but it's now, I think it's just after 5 o'clock in the evening. And we are back by the River Severn. And there she is, ladies and gentlemen. Just as an observation, she seems wider than when we last were. This is the first time we've been able to get quite close up to the river since we left Llanellodes. Quite a good few miles away now, because with Caersws you've only got the overbridge there and then just glimpses of it as you're leaving the town. So it's really good to see the Severn just right up to my feet here. We're touching distance. There it is, there's the river. Touching distance of the river again here in Newtown. That's a lovely sight to see. And obviously you can imagine in the winter time when the water is coming down off Mount Plymouth where we started this series. Yeah, well, I certainly wouldn't be able to stand where I am now. You can see the floodplain over there and the rocks that are brought down across the river valley here. And just up here is something that's going to get us to the other side of the river. Yes. A footbridge. Just going up there a minute. Just going to enjoy this by the riverside here before I do that. You can see there a bit of geology on the other side. The Severn, it's hacked its way through the rocks on the other side there. So I'm a finger in the way. There we go. And that's the view downstream. Lovely. So this is the Dollaroo Park Bridge, suspension bridge. Wonderful design. I've come across similar ones on the River Wye. Consulting engineers, Mott, Hay and Anderson if you're a civil engineer or into engineering, and this bridge was opened in 1973, just 6 years after Newtown was declared a new town. Well, here right on Sabrina Man, this little island standing in the river, I can't quite believe it, here in Newtown. That wraps it up for Severn Way, number 4 from Caersws to Newtown. I did find today's walk, I don't mind admitting it, quite challenging. But why not join me again for part 5 when we'll continue our journey. Continuing heading towards the English border, we're leaving Newtown, heading in the direction of Welshpool, although I don't think I'll be doing Welshpool in one complete walk because of the distance involved. Now when we leave Newtown we'll be following the Montgomery Canal, the Monty that we saw and one of the early ones. In fact you will probably see a bit of it in my Powys Castle video. I film a bit of it there, but I'll tell you more about this interesting canal further along the other side of the town here on the next time on Severn Way, on Severn Way 5. I hope you enjoyed the journey today following the river, what we could of it, and the challenging climbs around the Severn Valley, the upper reaches of the Severn Valley between the Roman town of Caersws and the new town of Newtown here in Powys in Wales. If you did, please consider a like, a comment, a share, you know, the usual sort of thing, or perhaps a subscribe. If you hit the subscribe, then think about hitting the bell to get YouTube to tell you when the next one uploads. Until next time, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on West Country Wanderings again very, very soon. All the best, friends.